Hey everyone, before I get started, I just want to remind you that if you like my content, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and then join the Militia Man and Crew Patreon community by clicking the link in the caption. Hey, good evening everybody. Militia Man here and the crew, and we have some news for you. Some of it is somewhat lengthy, but hey, it's going to be fun and exciting because some of the things that the news brings us is good, bad, and indifferent. But in this case, I think we try to grab as much of that good stuff as we can and look at it objectively, and we go from there. This particular article here is Minister of Commerce. It says Iraq is currently witnessing fundamental economic changes. What are they talking about? In brief, it's having to deal with trade exchange with Saudi Arabia. It says Iraq is keen to increase the volume of trade exchange and experiences to increase opportunities for partnerships in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. We've heard all this before, but they're reiterating it. What's their main focus is that Iraq is currently witnessing fundamental economic changes and giving a greater role to the private sector. So Iraq is being noticed for getting its act together. Saudi Arabia is looking to invest, which is a big thing. I think everybody should know that by now. So the Iraqi-Saudi Coordination Council basically has played a major role with their bilateral relations, and Iraq is doing a good job. If you've noticed in the news that Iraq is a mediator, it's almost like the Switzerland of the Middle East. So kudos to al-Sudani. What the next thing is, there's an article called "A Large Delegation from the Regional Government Heads to Baghdad." So just bear with me a little bit. Some of the stuff is a little bit dated. This is a few days old, as was the other one. It's a couple days old, but interestingly enough, I'm going to paint a picture. I hope that'll make you feel good, or make us all like very hopeful. So it's pretty cool. It says this evening, Tuesday, which is a couple days ago, a delegation from the Kurdistan Regional Government went to the capital, Baghdad, to discuss several common files between Erbil and Baghdad. We all know some of those common files have to deal with not getting salaries paid, the hydrocarbon law, some politics, lots of little things like that. So eventually they're going to hopefully get this all ironed out, and as we'll see, there's been some recent agreements, but we'll move to the forward. Tuesday, the Joint Financial Oversight Committee between between Erbil and Baghdad, also scheduled to provide the Parliamentary Finance Committee with the detailed information about the expenses and revenues of the first 6 months of 2023. So obviously, this was Tuesday. We know that they've showed up in the last couple of days, and they've had some meetings in Baghdad, and I think those meetings were definitely positive and fruitful. So we're going to get to that. Here's a comment, and think about it when you hear all this. This is again back to Tuesday. It says Prime Minister Masroor Barzani directed the government delegation not to leave any questions unanswered, to cooperate in all transparency. And the spokesman basically stresses that the regional government is looking for a radical solution to protect the rights of the citizens of Kurdistan within the framework of the Iraqi constitution. Well, we all know that the Iraqi constitution has some components to it that have to do with the hydrocarbon law, having to deal with a lot of things that are very important to all the people of Iraq. So keep that in mind. Here's the next article. Basically says the strict measures regarding the dollar in Kurdistan following a decision related to the Iraqi dinar. And what they're going to get talking about here is that the Kurdistan Customs Director Samal Abdul Rahman revealed that strict measures have been taken for the purposes of preventing the smuggling of dollars and hard currency from the region. I think we all know that a lot of hard currency, like the U.S. dollar, was going through the Kurdistan region to other countries, and there are many of them. I'm not going to get into all the names, but you guys probably know where the borders are. The decision to collect fees in Iraqi dinars at border crossings is an important decision aimed at preserving the hard currency and also strengthening the Iraqi dinar. So they have a goal to stop using the dollar and using the Iraqi dinar at the customs borders. Everybody should be kicking their heels or their ruby slippers, okay? Because it's going to be a lot of money. A lot of revenues are going to come through those borders. It says here, the Kurdistan regional government decided to collect taxes and fees at the border crossings in Iraqi dinars instead of the US dollar. So they reiterate things. Basically, the customs and duties, taxes at the borders and custom points will be collected in Iraqi dinars as opposed to this instead of dollars. And so the main kicker on this part is that any party that does not adhere to this decision will be subject to punishment. So they're getting strict. Doesn't say the date that they're going to do it specifically, but it does tell us that that's one of the things that's going on. One of the things that we had talked about is that the NBI Bank in Jordan, we saw that they own a large percentage of they had a large share, the 70% of the dollar auctions. So that doesn't look too good because a lot of that money that they were doing auctions were going to other countries, aforementioned, outside of the realm of the central bank and the U.S. Federal Reserve. So anyway, it says the NBI is by far the largest market share in the dollar auctions. And I think that's about to change. So any party that does not adhere to these decisions will be subject to punishment. So I would assume that bank is going to probably have some issues if they don't clean up their act and do something more legitimate. And speaking of legitimacy and legitimate sales of the U.S. dollar, here on the October 18th, I think that's Wednesday or yesterday, the governor of the Central Bank of Iraq opens new outlets for selling dollars in Baghdad at the airport. So if you go to the CBI's website, I think you guys can see some significant amount of pictures and stuff. I'd say, interestingly enough, if you look really close at some of those photos, they might catch your eye. Look at the packages, look what the colors are. I don't know exactly what's in there because it's not that clear. But the implication is that they have what looks to be a Delarue machine, money counting machines, and they have stacks of packages which have colors that are similar to Iraqi dinars. I'm not saying they are, I'm just saying that that's the picture kind of portrays that. So go to the CBI's website. I suggest you do that. And also everybody, when you get ready to look for a publication for the Iraqi dinar outside the country, we can always go back to the CBI's website, scroll to the bottom, type in the amount in USD of IQD, you're going to get an exchange rate. It's that simple. They're going to change, they're going to discuss it, they're going to show it. So let that be something to pay attention to. And it's really easy to find. CBI.IQ. CBI.IQ. So, what they're doing is that Al-Alaq was at the airport, Baghdad International. Basically, are saying that they're going to provide 24-hour service for their customers at the airport. The governor is basically stressing these opening of these new outlets will have positive effects, especially since it takes a short time for the traveler to obtain his share of the dollar. That's their whole goal. They're not going to quit 100% no dollars because dollars is an international currency, but the bottom line is they're going to quit using it within the country and for many different things. They're going to cease to do that, and as early as next year, the dollar is going to be banned. So they're setting the stage now, and it looks like they're going to follow through over a period of time. It's basic, but they got to take care of business now, not later. So keep that under your hat while you're thinking things through. Okay. So the next one is that the Ministry of Finance, the Kurdistan region again, did not deposit any amounts in an account that was open to deposit revenues. This isn't the first article that we've seen on this. Taif Sami has warned about it before. It's definitely acknowledged, and we're going to find out in a little while here that this is kind of a big deal, is because the United States Treasury, Federal Reserve Bank, put some stipulations on Iraq. They needed to do specific things. They had platforms that they had to use. They have instructions they have to deal with as far as distributions. So they've been setting the stage for quite some time. And so everybody really, if you've been thinking that nothing's really happening, it's always just can kicking, what I'm painting a picture here is that there is progress. There are things that are happening. It's a fluid environment. It's not just cut and dry. We don't have all the answers. They're not going to tell us every single step of the way, but they're going to give us a little bit of information all the time, because that's part of that process, because they have to take care of their citizens just as well. And the world too. I mean, all the people that are doing trade, they need to know some things. And that's why the CBI publishes data, is so that, you know, investors and stuff can find out what they need to know. Okay, it's just like the stock exchange. When people do reporting about their accounts, their stocks, they give important data that people need to be able to decipher. They need to understand what's your bottom dollar. You know, the 10Ks, the Qs that we all see here in the United States for stocks. They're going to have to do that kind of reporting too. And that's just a sidebar, but I just keep that in mind. It goes on. It says the Kurdistan did not deposit any amounts in the account that was opened to deposit revenues. I'm not 100% sure, but this might be the unified treasury account that they're talking about. And one of the things, again, the US Fed said, hey, we have problems because of our electronic platforms in Iraq, but we also have problems with the finance ministry. And that's the legal side of this whole thing. So it's not as easy and cut and dry as everybody thinks. Just flip the switch and it's done. Well, effectively, yes, but there's some other things. This is a complex process. This country is going to go into the international world, international financial system. They're the ones that the UN said that they're going to save the day, effectively. I think we have that in Patreon, where they actually literally say that Iraq is going to be the savior of the global financial system, and they're going to bring confidence. JP Morgan, a few other banks, they're going to have boost in their balance sheets, because why? They're going to be doing trade just like everybody else in the world. Just like the Development Road Project is going to interconnect with the Silk Road Project, and it's all about infrastructure. So keep all this stuff in mind. It's fascinating to watch this stuff unfold. Ministry of Finance and the Economy. Oh, wait, hold on. Revealing that the final report on auditing the entire database will be submitted tomorrow. So that was yesterday. So here we might be looking for something in line with what was the outcome of this auditing of their entire database. So what I'm thinking is that they want the database for all their employees, because that's basically, they need to pay those folks. And if they're going to pay those folks, they don't want to be paying 4 different salaries for one person. Pretty common in Iraq since I've been in this investment. So they're going to clean that up. It says the Minister of Finance and Economy of the Kurdistan region provided an explanation of the issues and the general situation of the mechanism for implementing budget instructions, in addition to discussing region's share in the budget, details of the actual agreement, expenditures for investment projects, key investment projects, while an explanation was presented with the details and tables listing expenditures and revenues. So these guys are getting their act together, and they're getting ready to do things that are going to be audited. One of the things that they're going to want is a focus from the Finance Committee has been on total oil and non-oil revenues and border crossings achieved thus far. So again, it's not just the oil, but it's also the non-oil revenues, and that's what Baghdad wants. And I think that the United States Treasury, you're going to find, or the United States Federal Bank, right? They have some reins holding on to these guys about their budget, and if they want things done properly, more to the story as far as that's concerned and how that will work. But the fact remains is that the United States Federal Reserve Bank has some issues with those guys, and they want the books and accounts to be provided, and they should be looking to be as a unified vision, not as a two-nation country. They want everybody on the level playing field and in a unified vision. So that's in this article that I mentioned about the Ministry of Finance. The Kurdistan region did not deposit any amounts in their account. That's the one. That's a really kind of a deep one if you want to get into it. And then here's the next one, where it's to the central bank. It says the new central bank measures spark growing economic criticism. This article is actually kind of interesting because Iraq basically disclaims the responsibility for causing a crisis in the dollar exchange rates and blames it on smuggling operations, local trade, and lack of control of the ports. and it's not wrong. I don't think he's wrong at all. Look, the black market, the parallel market, is a local market, and it's an illegal market. And so I'm trying to hold Al-Alaq and others to the fire because of that. That's not going to work. They're going to have other things that they're going to have to take care of to get that sorted, and we all know what that is. Or what could fix it, and we'll get to that after a bit. It says the governor of the central bank disclaimed responsibility for causing the rise in the dollar exchange rates. And basically, he, instead of announcing effective and realistic solutions that deals with the reasons he mentions for the rise in the exchange rate, the governor announced the opening of a lounge, they call it, to sell to travelers and increasing interest rates to 7.5% to encourage citizens to save their money. So the basic here is that you guys can get legal money at the airports like we've talked about, right? And they're also adding in that they've increased the interest rates to encourage citizens to save their money. So they're going to be paying 7.5%. I don't think you guys can get 7.5% in America. So what's the main goal here? I think what they're really trying to do is to get large amounts of money off the street, out of their mattress money, they call it. They want to. They're still focusing in on trying to get that money in. And at this stage of the game, I don't see why they wouldn't with that kind of efforts. And also, we have another article here. I think we're going to talk about. They're selling reconstruction bonds. Okay, reconstruction bonds mean that they're going to do what they said they were going to do. We talked about investments. We're going to talk about things like optimal investment opportunities. These guys are really focused in on that tripartite budget, which is 23, 24, 25, and they're looking at spending money. And if we can get this off the ground, they're going to probably solve the problems between Erbil and Baghdad. And so we'll keep moving forward on this. And the next one here is Baghdad and Erbil came out with a new agreement localizing the salaries of the region's employees in the approved banks. Wally's joining us, I think, you guys. So we'll see if he makes a cameo appearance here. But we'll see. Is that Wally or is that Winnie? God, you can't even hardly tell them apart. Sorry, you guys. But Parliamentary Finance Committee today says there's a new agreement. A new agreement includes continuing to localize the salaries of the Kurdistan region. The employees in banks approved by the Central Bank of Iraq and financing these banks through the Ministry of Finance. So they go on to say that the Parliamentary Finance Committee expanded a hearing which hosted the Federal Finance Minister, Taif Sami. So basically you have the Parliamentary Finance Committee hosting the Federal Minister of Finance, Taif Sami, and it says the Ministry of Finance and Economy in the Kurdistan region. So they were all there. And again, the head of the Audit Bureau was there. So basically they had this meeting. They said they were going to be there on Tuesday. Here we are on the 18th, which is Wednesday, yesterday. They concluded a new agreement. So they're just focusing on getting things done. So you can see, what did I talk about from the very beginning? There's progress. There's all this progress that they keep doing. It seems like it's taking forever. Of course it does. But again, it's a complex issue. We're talking about a country interlinking with many, many countries and the globe when it comes to right down to it. So they have to have things done. Thankfully, I think that the U.S. Treasury showing up back in July, I think it was July 6th or so, have been there all along working to get this done and pulling some strings to help these people out. And that's what we want to see. So here's an article that's fascinating. I mean, they literally dance around the dinar without ever mentioning it. But you got to realize that, what are they talking about? It's this particular article says, will the dollar disappear in Iraq? And what I like about this article, as I'll get to, is going to be one key component. Here, part of it says the electronic platform recently introduced the central bank, and it was not able to stabilize the parallel market. So there was this concern, is basically that countries that have been under sanction, like Iran and Syria and entities in Turkey, had been getting dollars, and they're trying to stop that, because basically it's a misuse of hard currency. There's financial crimes and currency smuggling that go along with that. but that's part of this whole article. But it says the central bank is working diligently towards adopting a new currency to replace the dollar. And they say such as the euro, for example, or the Chinese yuan or the Emirati dirham. But it goes on and says this is not an easy process, but yet it's not impossible. And it says while working to use gold as an agreed upon unit for evaluating goods and services. So that's pretty interesting that they're using gold as an agreed upon unit for evaluating goods and services. It says this trend would reduce the pressure on the dollar in the parallel market and would also be a fatal blow to speculators in the parallel markets. So basically what they're giving you is information that says, well, if they go to a gold-backed or an asset-backed unit to evaluating goods and services, I think that's pretty telling you. And they're telling you they're going to be adopting a new currency such as these other currencies. Well, what are we waiting for? The deletion of the zero project is going to create value to their currency to get them to an international market. So therefore, the Iraqi dinar could be one of those currencies that they're going to use because they're getting rid of the dollar, and they're going to ban the dollar, and they're going to create an environment where you have to use the dinar. But here they're just kind of giving you examples of other currencies outside of the dinar. So they actually literally dance around it, and I think it's fascinating. It goes, in addition to preserving trade with countries that are currently witnessing economic sanctions by the U.S. Treasury Department and the U.S. Federal Bank. So there's those warning shots from the U.S. Treasury saying that we have you. We're not going to allow you to do those things. And we're not going to let you go to the BRICS if we can put that much pressure on you. And so keep some of these things in mind when you do your studies. Everybody look a little deeper and pay attention to what the biggest, largest currency in the world, what kind of leverage they have. And we also know that Iraq is part and parcel and has large sums of money in the United States, and that some of those things would be at jeopardy by not doing the things that they had to do via the Paris Club and all these. There's lots of different stuff. But the cool part is that the Central Bank of Iraq has a historic opportunity to address and manage the dollar exchange rate and arrange the parallel market securities in a practical, decisive manner, and to work and determine to work priorities in the monetary market that aim at improving the stability of their foreign currencies. So basically, in order to attract the hoarded cash mass outside of the Iraqi banking system, that's their goal. So by them telling you that they're going to use gold as an agreed upon unit for evaluating goods and services, I think that will kind of trigger that to attract some of that hoarded money that they've been talking about. Raising the interest rates to 7.5%, telling them about gold. You see where this is going? It's pretty phenomenal. Another thing that they're telling you is they're talking about those reconstruction bonds. If you're going to rebuild your country and you're going to present bonds, well, bonds are for reconstruction, and who's going to come do the reconstruction besides Iraqis? Countries of the world are going to come in and reconstruct. That's investment. That's why they do it. They did a tripartite budget. It's for investment, right? So you have the operational side and you have the investment side, and they haven't spent any money yet on that side. And they said that they had a problem with the finance ministry. We're going to get to that. But the bottom line is that if they're going to sell bonds, and they started selling these bonds, and they're basically doing it according to the federal budget law number 13 of 2023. Yeah, so ultimately that law is going to be a kicker for us all. I guess they have some limitations and statutes that are with those bonds for maturities and stuff like that, but that's not my point. My point is that reconstruction bonds tells me they have faith in the country, and if those bonds sell, they're going to go do what they're going to do, and that's going to be reconstruct the country, and that's big. So it basically is doing a lot of things. They're going to pay 6% on those bonds, and they're paying 7.5%. By the way, those bonds are tax-free. They're tax exempt. It's a motivating factor to get the money, the citizens, into the banks to be able to do this. Okay, it's phenomenal. Parliamentarian draws the time map for the settlement between Erbil and Baghdad and looks into the oil and gas law. Well, have they done it yet? No. Are they in the process of it? Yes. Are they telling us what the importance is? It says, look, the importance of approving the oil and gas and natural resources law. And interesting that they've been using this natural resources law is because it's oil and gas, but natural resources law. Okay, so they're going to give HCL money for natural resources. Well, could that be gold and sulfur and all the other minerals in the ground? I think it's possible. I think these guys are going to have some extras that are coming to them. And I think this is what this is telling us, okay? It's basically, it says that this law will solve many of the existing problems and tensions between the region and the central government. You think? I mean, if everybody's getting a little slice of the pie from all the oil and the gold and the gas and other natural resources, I think that's going to be pretty powerful. Pretty powerful. It says one of the most important goals that must be achieved through this law is the establishment of the Union Petroleum Council, which will contribute to resolving disputes related to Article 112 of the Constitution. So here we're talking about the Constitution. That's what they talked about earlier on. They want to solve problems based off what? The Constitution. It is scheduled for the federal government. So there they say it is scheduled. So they have this scheduled for review or on the table. I don't know, vote. They don't say, but it says the regional government and the oil producing governments will be represented in this council. So they've been working on this. This is nothing new to anybody, but now it looks like it's probably in a little more advanced stages. Because one of the things that I believe that they're going to need for this is that they're going to need an exchange rate, and I think we're going to get to some other things that probably need an exchange rate that we've talked about that everybody probably knows by now that's in this investment and knows what they own. They should be watching for this stuff. The representation of some governments will be permanent, while the representations of others will be at an international level. So we're not only talking about internal, but we're talking about international levels. Why? Because there's going to be some international people coming in to help them get that natural resources out of the ground, out of that gas, that oil, that gold, that sulfur, all those phosphates, all those things, okay? So keep all that in mind and realize, again, this isn't just a tiny little country that's going to go from a war-torn circumstance from 2003 to 2023 to a digital environment, okay? It's amazing how far they've come and how far they are. We've already talked about all that other stuff, the digital transformation. So you can go back to some of my videos and see that. One of the things here of this particular one is a parliamentary table movement to dismiss the governor of the central bank. This is pretty funny because basically who's calling for them to dismiss the government? Politicians, right? Politicians are the ones that are doing what? A lot of them are the ones that are in the dollar market, the auctions. And what are they calling for? They're trying to support the parallel market. Light bulb, if they're supporting an illegal market and they're poking fingers at Al-Alaq, who's got nothing but good credentials, take a look at his past, okay? The only thing I think he got people mad at is he put his name on the currency. but truth is, it says here, he stresses that the forgery in the receipts that are submitted to the central bank through the currency selling window to buy the dollar to import goods, and it is a fact an operation to smuggle the currency outside Iraq, and these banks which buy the dollar are economic arms of political parties. Politicians are telling you that these guys that are doing it are politicians, and they want to get rid of the guy. I'm like, you can't make it up, okay? It's definitely a little bit of humor there. So I think that article is, I just threw it down on the ground. So anyway, that's where it should be. And the next one is the National Investment Authority announces the opening date of a branch of Al Rafidane Bank in the Bismaya residential complex. I don't know if you guys have seen some of the videos that they have out on this Bismaya residential complex, the city. It's phenomenal. There's a 12-minute video out there. Everybody that owns the Dinar should watch it. Actually, everybody that's invested in the Iraqi stock exchange and some of these other companies might want to take a look at that and get some ideas of where this country's headed. Because I think that this particular place is unlike any other place in the world. And it was a really good video. And I might have that on my Patreon site in one of our resources. I'll have to double check on that. But the fact remains is check it out and look at it. Basically, it's basically stating that with the hydrocarbon law money, all these natural resource laws, the oil and gas, right? Everybody's going to get money. So what they've done is they've set it up that they can get and use electronic cards and accounts to buy residential units, because why? They're not going to be able to use the dinar, the dollar. And so they're going to force them into using the dinar to buy housing. And guess what? They're going to get paid in dinar. And if they get enough money, they'll be able to afford housing. And so these guys have got smart enough to know that they can do direct deposit. They can get paid. Because one of the things that they've had in the past is people don't always pay their bills on time. Yeah, well, if you got the money that's direct deposit, it comes in, goes like that. Good information. Piece those pieces together, piece those puzzles together. And the next thing is, again, what do we have? We had the Kurdistan region in Baghdad. And well, who met with the central bank governor? The Prime Minister, Barzani. Right? We talked about him earlier. He met with the finance ministry, it says. But now he's talking to the governor of the central bank. And it says the Prime Minister of Kurdistan Regional Government, Masroor Barzani, received the governor of the Central Bank of Iraq, Ali Mohsen Al-Laq. It says the meeting witnessed a discussion of ways to enhance coordination and cooperation between the Kurdistan region and federal government, especially between the central bank with regard to reforming the banking sector, intensifying the money laundering issues or efforts, and working to achieve economic stability. Right? Economic stability. That's what we're looking for. Stressing that the progress of the Kurdistan region represents progress for all Iraq in the interest of all the citizens. Constitution, again, interest of all the citizens. We haven't heard too much from Al-Sadr, but one of the things he's all about is the citizens. Maybe we'll see him poke his head up pretty soon. We'll see. I got a little bit more, and I'll be done, you guys. It says Al-Sudani chairs the third meeting of the Supreme Committee for Reconstruction. They're selling reconstruction bonds, right? And here he has the third meeting. Basically, he's talking to Prime Minister of Al-Sudani. He met with the third meeting. Basically, this meeting had a number of relevant files, topics that were discussed based on the government's vision and priorities, which came in the ministerial platform and focused on, here it is, optimal investment and development projects that the country needs in a way that is clearly reflected on covering the needs of the citizens and providing many important jobs and opportunities. Again, it's a constitutional right for them to have for the citizens. So in light of the outcomes of the mineral, petrochemical, and fertilizer investment conference, which was held in May 2023, hence what? Natural resources, right? Oil, gas, natural resources. They talk about related production of fertilizers, such as urea and refined sulfur. I mentioned sulfur once probably. So now you're starting to get that picture now, that where the money's going to come from to support all this, the circumstances of them being able to support an exchange rate that is going to be an international one. I think we can start to see that it's coming to fruition. Last thing on that was the project discussed to develop the lands of the Rashid camp to create a sustainable forest city, which would provide additional green spaces for the capital and improve the environmental reality there. What's not to like about that? Iraq's got a lot of sandy days, dusty days. So if they can help with the environment, so be it. Let's look forward to it. This one's talking about establishing 2 more additional housing projects in the Nineveh governorate. And then what else did they say? It says the results so the end of the day, the results that will be presented by the Supreme Council for Reconstruction will be a short time from now. So they're gonna get back to everybody on those issues. So here's an interesting situation where it says the Federal Reserve is still in control of the financial budgets. We talked about this. This is dated, but I left it to the back because originally this came out on October 10th. Okay. Basically what it is the U.S. Federal Reserve was behind not launching financial allocations in the budget that came due to the problems of the U.S. Federal Reserve Bank's intervention, as well as issues in the Ministry of Finance. I covered on that, and here it is in writing. This was back on the 10th of October, but here's some of the information. It says the reasons behind not releasing financial entitlements and allocations in the budget come due to the problems of the U.S. federal, the way they do this, but U.S. federal bank's intervention, as well as issues in the Ministry of Finance. Okay, the source explains the Federal Reserve is still in control of the financial budgets of Iraq, and he is expecting this matter will end 2 weeks from now. That's what they have said. The source that got this through, and it was talking about the Federal Reserve. And again, the Federal Reserve is still in control of the financial budget. This matter will end in 2 weeks from now, and that was started on the 10th. Okay, and it says there must be accountability for the Ministry of Finance and an explanation of the reasons for not funding the governance and the ministries so far. And so, what are we talking about? They're gonna talk to you about more to come, right? And we've got it. They've done numerous amounts of things in the last few days to support that. They're going to make sure that these are taken care of. And here another one was that said within 2 weeks. That specifically said 2 weeks mark, right, from the 10th. That's what it said. That's what they are talking about. Al-Sudani directs to simplify all banking procedures and prepare a list of facilities within a week. That's the headline. Okay, so the banks, he's directed them to simplify all banking procedures and prepare a proposed list of facilities to be presented within a week. And this was dated on the 15th. See the pattern here? Okay, 10th, 2 weeks, 15th, a week. And then it says, within the framework of this, follow up to the plan to implement financial administrative reforms in the financial and banking sectors. And so basically, Sunday evening, they went over this, the basic steps for financial and economic reform in which the government adopts in its executive approach. So an executive approach isn't just your average approach. Financial reform is not just a slogan, but rather a series of terms and procedures that the government is determined to implement without hesitation. So they're focused. They're going to do this. That's what I'm getting from it, okay? Prime Minister directed the simplification of all banking procedures and the preparation of a proposed list of facilities and simplified procedures to be presented within a week. It's their words, not mine. And let's see, the last thing I want to go over is the Regional Minister of Finance of Baghdad. Today, they say that they will send 700 billion dinars next week to Kurdistan. The Ministry of Finance and Economy in the Kurdistan region, his name is Janab Nouri, announced on Thursday that the federal government will send 700 billion dinars next week. That was today. Then they go on to say, right, the region to finance salaries or to fund salaries for employees, workers in the public sector. He stated this to official media of this party, the movement of change. Translations, I'm sorry. Minister said that at the beginning or the middle of next week. So here it says that they're going to do this next week, right? Well, they also go on to say the minister said that at the beginning or middle of next week, the process of sending 700 billion will begin and salaries will be paid to employees in the Kurdistan region. Okay, main point, 700 billion sometime at the beginning or the middle of next week. And so you guys can look at a calendar just as easy as I can. The Ministry of Natural Resources, Ministry of Finance in the region. There again, natural resources are invoked. They had stated yesterday, which was Wednesday, that there was an agreement between the region's delegation currently visiting Baghdad. So yesterday they have an agreement. Okay, so we're hoping that agreement gets exposed. Could have been today, Possibly. We'll see. We might not find out till tomorrow or sometime over the weekend. We'll see. It says the Parliamentary Finance Committee and the Federal Minister of Finance, Mrs. Taif Sami, to solve problems of financing the salaries of employees and workers in the public sector in the region in one payment. They want it done at one time, finalize it. Okay, remember, she was in a situation that was Taif Sami, the budgets, the control from the U.S. Federal Reserve was about the budgets, the investment budgets, the reconstruction budgets. All of that money to be able to spend needs an exchange rate. As far as I'm concerned, I think that's where we're at. Okay, but check it out. It says here, we sat with the Parliamentary Finance Committee and the Federal Minister of Finance in accordance with what our job dictates and the responsibility placed on us in the Kurdistan Regional Government to defend those who receive salaries, adding in a very friendly atmosphere. We presented our information, and I can say that there is a large understanding between us on how to solve the problems of salary recipients and address the problem of actually spending. Two key words, actually spending, and I can't stress that enough, is because that's what we've been waiting for, is them to actually spend money out of the 23, 4, and 5 budget. Goes on a little farther in the last paragraph. There was a national response by the Finance Committee and the Federal Minister of Finance regarding the information provided, and I can say that we agree in opinion and position and are unanimous that the problems of those who receive salaries in the region must be addressed at once and legally through the budget or actual spending. What's better than that? I can't think of anything, to be honest with you. So anyway, thank you guys for being here with me tonight. It's been a long one. I know that I went through a lot of information, and to me, I think we paint a picture that we painted a picture based off the news that they are moving still to do a reconstruction effort. They're selling bonds, increasing interest for the savings, setting up funds, all kinds of different things, right? And so we gave a lot of information in a short period of time that supports that Iraq is doing what they say they're going to do, and that is go to a market economy with the private sector in mind and the citizens in mind on a constitutional basis. So that's what we have. Thank you for being here. And again, if you like the content that we bring, as you can see, it's a lot of hard work. Tap that like button, subscribe, and we have ways of donation if you care to help keep the content going. And the reason why is that, again, we don't advertise during the message. So thank you for your support. The PayPal, Zelle, and Venmo are all there for you guys. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Once again, guys, don't forget to hit that like button if you like this content. Subscribe to the channel or join us at the Militia Man and Crew Patreon community for even more exclusive content. You can also donate to this channel by hitting the links in the banner to help keep this page up and running. Your generous support is greatly appreciated, as always. Much, much appreciated. Thank you so much and have a great day.